Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Inspector General of Police expected at Bepon as conduct of his men again comes under scrutiny in actions which resulted in death of one and others injured. Also, IMF urges Ghanaian authorities to stick to recovery program going forward. This comes days after the government withdrew implementation of VAT on electricity consumption. Later in this bulletin, fourth session of Parliament opens for the first time today, but MPs have to abide by new standing orders. What are those? We'll tell you more. Very much for joining us. Let's go to Parliament, where the House has resumed sitting this morning for the 8th session, where new standing orders for the House is expected to take effect. The new rulebook for the House features new guidelines and procedures on conducts there. The new standing orders got the approval of the House last year. Deputy Minority Chief Whip Ahmed Ibrahim has been speaking to the media on what these new standing orders mean for parliamentary conduct.
Pursuant to Order 14 of our standing orders, a roll call will be taken, and the member is expected to respond to the roll call, which shall be evidence of attendance. I now call upon the clerks at the table to call out your names.
And you heard the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. Let's cross over to Parliament to our correspondent who's standing by for us. Duke, if you can hear us, what's happening? Okay, we don't seem to have Duke on the line. We'll reconnect to him shortly, but 82 bills are expected to be presented to the House in this session. The anti-gay and anti-witchcraft bills are expected to dominate discussions. I beg your pardon, in a House that would have many of its members hoping to enjoy final days following their inability to have a shot at a possible return in this year's elections. Despite some concerns about laxity on the part of government to sign the anti-gay bill into law, the MP for South Dine Roxin Nelson Dafiamekpo assures the bill will become law by the end of February.
To the extent that majority of the amendments are committee proposed amendments, I believe that by the end of February, we should bring this matter to a close. Should become law to the extent that Parliament would have completed this constitution work and moved to the third reading stage and pass it into law. And it will be remitted to the office of the President for his assent.
Indeed.
And I'm saying on authority that to the extent that the outstanding proposed amendments are not controversial, these are amendments that will be carried on the floor easily.
You heard South Zion MP Roxy Nelson Dafiamekpo. For the Executive Director of the African Centre for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, this is the time for the House to show leadership.
I just hope that both caucuses can rally their troops so that the Right Honourable Speaker would have all the people that he needs at all times, so that the work of the House and committee work can be done. But again, given the circumstances currently, I imagine that that's going to be a very difficult task. But we are at a critical moment, and this is where leadership would have to count.
And you heard Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's the Executive Director of the African Centre for Parliamentary Affairs. Now, the House has meanwhile issued a directive for the arrest of the Northern Regional Director of the National Sports Authority due to the failure to deposit over 160,000 Ghana cedis in internally generated funds. He failed to pay the funds into the designated consolidated fund transit account of the authority. The 2022 Auditor General's report highlights the Northern Regional Management of the Sport Authority for the expenditure of the funds, which violates the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019. The committee has therefore requested a forensic audit by the Auditor General at the Sports Authority. And we'll still try and bring you updates from Parliament. But ahead of that, the International Monetary Fund is cautioning Ghana not to stray from the progression of its fund program to ensure that the country secures the full benefits of the ongoing bailout package. The program is designed to be implemented over 3 to 4 years, and it is important that Ghana sticks to the course and sees the program being implemented over the next 3 years. That's according to the Director of the African Development at the IMF, Beatrice Adu. Already, the country has received an additional release of the $600 million second tranche, and at a time when the government is said to be considering further engagement with the IMF for a consensus on the anticipated revenue shortfall over the planned suspension of the VAT on electricity.
Ghana program, is being implemented effectively. We just went to the board recently with the first program review, following, of course, the policies that the government has been putting in place to address the, huge imbalances Ghana was facing through last year, and of course, creditors signaling that official creditors signaling that they will provide debt relief consistent with what Ghana needs. So we just went to the board, I think, a couple of weeks ago. What I can say is that going forward, it will be really, really important that Ghana continues to implement the program that they have developed as envisaged. That is really critical. These programs are not, are designed to be implemented over 3-4 years. And it's really important that, Ghana sticks the course and sees the program being implemented over the next 3 years.
You heard there Beatrice Adu. He is the Director of the African Development at the IMF. Meanwhile, Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gache, believes that the decision to scrap the 15% VAT should prompt the government to re-evaluate its revenue figures and expenditure estimates.
They don't want it. Labor unions are up in arms. So you need to revise that expectation. So that is what government is supposed to do. And over the years, whatever government brings, they believe that at the end of the day, it will stand. Haven't we seen taxes withdrawn in this country before? Didn't we see VAT when it was introduced in 1995 with all kind of agitation had to be withdrawn, recalibrated before it was brought back in 1998. We have seen that before. So what is so strange when you want to introduce tax and the people are not happy, and then you're putting the blame on IMF. In your earlier discussion in the studio, some government communicators say that, this tax was on the book long time. All that the government is doing is to implement it. Do you know why the people, those who enacted the law, didn't implement it? It's because of the same sensitivity we're discussing today. So if you are not sensitive to the people and you bring in this tax, don't be blaming IMF. If a tax handle cannot be applied, you only revise your entire expectation. That is the right thing to do. But to put us in a situation as though if that tax target is not achieved, then something so bad is going to happen to the economy. I think that is trying to blackmail all of us into difficulties. So the right thing to do is for government to revise its tax expectation and, for that matter, the budget overall.
You heard Professor John Gache. He's the Dean of the University of Cape Coast. Now, socio-economic activities have begun bouncing back to normalcy at Kweu-Bipong after Sunday's violence resulting in the death of one person. Residents are engaged in their daily activities freely, although police patrol teams are still visible in the community to maintain peace. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, is also expected in the community later today. Let's now head straight to the community and speak to Yvonne Nekwe, who is our Eastern Regional Correspondent. Yvonne, what's the latest?
Beatrice, as I speak to you, the community are hoping that the children, brothers who were taken away, not part of the incident, return to them. Again, we do know that the schools have not reopened today. They are likely to come back tomorrow after some psychological education for them and their parents. But the police is still here at the incident scene, ensuring that they are monitoring every activity that is going on here. But the good thing is that normalcy has returned. People are engaging in their business and daily activity as they usually do.
Normalcy has returned, you say, but how would you describe how people are going about trying to bounce back fully after this incident?
Well, in as much as they haven't returned from their panic and trauma, it's better than what we saw here yesterday. Yesterday, you could actually count by hindsight the number of people outside. But today, a huge number of them are outside. Stores have opened, businesses, the market area is busily working this morning.
So let me find out more about the IGP. He's expected in the community today. Do you have information when exactly and his itinerary, as it were?
Well, we do know that he's expected to start here today, but of course he hasn't arrived here. I've spoken to the municipal chief executive, Emmanuel Atafori. He's confirmed that he will be coming, but he hasn't arrived yet. We're still here monitoring the steps as he moves from his schedule in Accra to make his way here, because decisions have to be made as to what the next movement of action is for the police and the municipal security councils themselves moving forward, especially when they are hoping that the pupils return tomorrow, and then the processes for those they have taken from here to process them and investigate them here. So he needs to come here before everything finally ends.
Yvonne, before you go, you talked about school children and the need for them to go through some psychological care. Can you tell us how this is going and how, just asking you two questions in one, how you think this would affect academic activities moving forward?
Yesterday, per my engagement and interaction with a number of them, they had fears all over their body. Especially with the coming in of the incident. Their parents, of course, will not allow them to go. The teachers also fleeing the community. So for them, it's one thing getting the health directory, the mental health people, getting them to have an education exercise probably this evening and tomorrow morning before they return to school, because people are going to stay in their school, not seeing their brothers or probably mates who have been taken off. How they have to stay in classes to learn and probably perform is another issue. The mental health authorities would have to take a critical look from those moments onwards.
Comprehensive report. Thank you very much, Ivy. Yvonne Nekwe from the Eastern region. Thank you for bringing us those details. Now, the seeming tension and factionalism among the top brass of the NDC in the Northern region has taken center stage as John Mahama engages with party faithful on the Building Ghana tour. The factionalism has led to rift between notable figures who have political clout in the region. Former minority leader and Tamale South MP Haruna Idrisu this afternoon has assured that the party is now more united than ever in the Northern region. He also went hard on the Electoral Commission on its proposals for the reforms in the electoral process. Listen to him.
Then I'm assuring President Mahama that we are united. When you hear they come and say Haruna Azoka versus Haruna Inusa versus Haruna, is over. The battle is to win majority in Northern region and win majority in Ghana for John. They must engage further with stakeholders, and we do not think that Parliament may be able to build a consensus on that matter, because it will require a constitutional amendment to Article 1124 and 113, where reads that general elections shall be held at least 60 days before elections. So you have to come and amend the 60 days to read 30 days. It will mean that you must engage Parliament. We think that this matter must be deferred for the future and allow 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections to be held on 7th December. The second proposal by the Electoral Commission is that we should change the time of voting to 3 p.m. It defies common sense. If at 5 p.m. you have a queue, you have a queue. The right to vote established under Article 42 is not a divisible right. It's not a right you can divide. Ope Fabi, Namin Fabi, no.
You heard former Minority Leader of Parliament Haruna Idris then. Hopefully we'll connect to a man who is with the former president on a tour in the northern region. Ahead of that, resident of Nkukwa-Boho in the Afija-Kwabre South District of the Ashanti region have staged a protest over destruction of their properties by the activities of quarry companies in the area. Whilst expecting the quarry companies to find ways of minimizing the impact of their blasting on households, the residents are also pressing on companies to fix roads within its catchment area.
We are the youth, and in fact, the youth, we have vibrant energy. So we are sounding it to the quarry and to the leaders watching us, and to the, in fact, to the district chief executive, that the DC is around, that if nothing positive gets out of this demonstration, then in fact, we are going to hit the streets again. In fact, we are going to show them, we are going to give them showdown. We are going to lock the quarries for a week, so that I think they will take us serious. So
this time, if nothing has been done, let's stop. You people will hear from us. Shut down demonstration. Shut down. We are all going to involve. This one there is the only youth. Then we come to support them. But from 2 weeks going, if you didn't hear anything and you didn't see anything from our crocodiles, you people will hear from us.
Residents of Nkukwa-Boho in the Afija-Kwabre South District of the Ashanti region protesting. Let's connect to our correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar. Ibrahim, you've been with them. What more can you tell us regarding this very protest?
Well, Beatrice, it's a very worrying situation if you go to the communities within the Afija-Kwabre district where these quarry sites are sited. You realize that their roofings have been broken, there are cracks on their walls and so many things. So anytime there is a blast, they have to endure these kind of issues. And for them, even though they cannot say the quarry must stop working, but at least there should be some form of communication. Anytime there will be a blast, they should be notified ahead of time so they know what to do. In fact, these communities that we are talking about, last 2 years, the district assembly indicated that about 6,000 houses are to be pulled down because they say these houses met the site there, so they do not even have authorization to be there in the first place because the activities would definitely affect them. These houses were earmarked for demolition. Compensation issue had to delay all these things. So as we speak, we don't know where they've gone to. And they are saying they need to be communicated. And also, because we have these quarry sites dotted around, at least their roads must be fixed so that they will see that as a form of compensation. These are the two concerns that they want from the quarry companies, just to streamline the activities to make sure that anytime there is a blasting, they wouldn't see this kind of impact and also fix their roads for them. In fact, they marched to the quarry companies and they have assured them that these things will be done because already they have created that quarry fund to be used for these interventions. So they should give them some time and they will try to see what they can do to fix all these concerns. So for now, they've given them a week or two to hear something positive from them, else they will have to stage another protest to express their displeasure.
Ibrahim, you've been to the community. Are there visible cracks and signs on these buildings that show that indeed there's an impending disaster?
Exactly. Most of the house, you see deep cracks in them. Sometimes, personally, I even fear that people still continue to live in such houses because you look at the walls and you could tell that any moment from now, it can fall down. Then also the roofings have been destroyed. Some even get to the extent of seeing the stones in their rooms because it flies and enters in their rooms and even sometimes cause injury among the residents. So the impact is visible when you move to the communities. Some of them are willing to move if given the needed compensation. Others too are bent on staying there. They just want the quarry activities to streamline their blasting or activities so they wouldn't see this kind of impact anytime there is a blasting there.
Briefly before you go, the protesters have given at least some leeway, as it were, giving them 2 weeks as in authorities to fix this problem or hear from them. Have you heard anything as regards their response yet?
Well, we try to speak to the quarry companies. They have told us that soon they will address some of these concerns. But when it comes to fixing the road properly, they will have to consult and look at what they have in the quarry fund so they see whether it can fix the road. But in the interim, they will try and reshape it for them and water it continuously so they wouldn't be seeing this impact. For on the issue of also communicating to them ahead of time with regards to the blasting, they said they will make sure that they do these things so that they also have that peace of mind to be able to operate within those communities.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's our correspondent in the Ashanti region. Let's return to our story about Parliament and the new rules that are going to guide the activities of members of the House. Duke Opoku-Mensah is there for us. He joins us live. Duke, can you give us details of these new rules we talk about?
Well, so before Parliament went on recess, to end the last meeting in December, they approved new standing orders for Parliament. Now, the new standing orders would be akin to rules and guidelines that give some form of that guide or provide some form of what do you call it? It guides, provides laws as to how they go about their work in Parliament. Really, the last time one was formulated and put into action was as far back as the year 2000. Since then, has not been reviewed. So there's been a review. There are new standing orders, and then that it took effect from the 2nd of January this year. But because Parliament begins sitting to be able to the 6th of February, it is now taking effect in its reality or in its real form. And so because of that, they will see a roll call being taken. Previously, that was not the case. So to stem the issue of punctuality and absenteeism, which has been a long-held issue in Parliament, the House has decided that in the new standing orders, when Parliament starts work, before it begins, there must be a roll call taken. Every member of Parliament's name is mentioned. And when you are around, you indicate that you're around. If you are not, you are marked as a thing to mark in a register in a classroom. So that has been done for the very first time. Today, MPs are debating whether this should be the way they should go or there should be some variance to it. Because obviously some of them have issues with this roll call. Apart from that, some of the old committees have been broken up. New committees have been formed. For instance, the whole finance committee has been broken down into 3. There's a finance committee, there's a committee on economy, and then there's a committee on planning. There are also a number of committees more that have been opened up to the public, apart from the public accounts committee. And then some of the numbers have been reduced from 25 to 13 and to 13 and the like. So these are some of the new details of the new standing orders, if you like. Also, ministers and departments and agencies heads can now be held onto the floor of Parliament on their own without necessarily having to go through their ministers. Previously, that was the case. If you are not a minister of state, you didn't have audience before Parliament, and now that has changed. So the NIA boards can be held before Parliament, desk and desk registry, head of local government service, electoral commissioner, auditor general, all of them can be held before Parliament by ministers to answer questions, by MPs, to answer questions in relation to their departments and agencies.
Thank you very much, Duke Opoku-Mensah, reporting live from Parliament. Now, the national chairman of the Progressive People's Party, Nana Ofori-Owusu, says it is about time Ghanaians rose up and demanded a better Ghana, describing the Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia led government as corrupt. He says the government has mismanaged the economy, coupled with nepotism and partisan leadership threatening the country's democracy. He was addressing the media in Accra.
No room for professional and objective minds and voices. The insidious rot of politicization festers within our state institutions. From the judiciary to the security forces, from regulatory bodies to the very core of government, the NPP has injected its poison of party loyalty, leaving behind a wasteland of eroded trust and crippled accountability. Justice, once blind, now squints through eyes clouded by political ignorance. The rule of law, once the cornerstone of our nation, now crumbles under the weight of executive overreach. Under this administration, one must hold a party card or know someone in leadership position in the ruling party in order to be recruited into security forces or receive a job, a contract from the state. When those who are to protect all of us believe that they must listen to some master's voice.
And you heard that the chair of the PPP. Now, despite its criminalization in 1994, female genital mutilation persists in the country. Data from the UNFPA indicates that 5 in every 100 girls go through the violation, with 27% of communal consent. And today, the world is marking the day of zero tolerance against FGM. And I'm joined on the line now by our correspondent, Grace. Grace, if you can hear me, what more can you tell us from this very event?
Yes, Beatrice, so it is an exclusive interview we had with the country director of the UNFPA in the country. He has been making some solutions, or he has been professing some solutions on how we can end female genital mutilation, which seemingly looks like it's no more prevalent in the country, but is actually going on. Well, what perpetrators are doing with this act is that because it is criminalized in Ghana, they rather take the women and girls they want to perform the act on to other countries which does not have laws on the violation and then do it on them. And so the UNFPA this year is calling for a tighter enforcement of regulations, especially around the borders of Ghana's neighboring countries, so that when these women and girls are smuggled, they can be apprehended to put a stop to what they call as a violation on the dignity of the rights of girls and women.
Thank you very much, Grace Ajiman, bringing us update from that program marking zero tolerance against FGM. Thank you, Grace Ajiman. Now, there's tension. Internet has been cut, and we are really afraid of what could happen in the next coming days. The words of a Senegalese journalist, Mohamed Ba. The comment comes days after Senegalese hit the street over the President Macky Sall's decision to postpone this year's presidential elections just the night before campaigns would begin. This was greeted with massive protests. The elections were scheduled for February 25. That country's parliament has already extended the mandates of the president until December 2024. Listen to an interview I had with Ba. He spoke in French.
La situation, il y a des manifestations.
Toujours?
Il y a une... oui, mais c'est sporadique. C'est dans certains quartiers et dans certaines régions, dans certains quartiers de Dakar et dans certaines régions du pays. Et l'Internet a été coupé. L'Internet a été coupé et la tension est palpable dans le pays. On voit bien qu'il y a quelque chose qui ne va pas. Tout le monde il y a une certaine tension, on va dire, dans le pays. Et on attend de voir ce qui va se passer aujourd'hui, demain et cette semaine en tout cas, parce que ce sera une semaine très décisive.
Comment les agents de sécurité ont réagi? Est-ce qu'ils ont mis beaucoup de personnes sur les routes? Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Oui, les chars sont ressortis comme en 2021, comme l'année dernière. à un certain moment où il y avait beaucoup de tensions au Sénégal. Les chars sont revenus, les gendarmes, les policiers sont dehors et quadrillent quasiment la capitale.
Et qu'est-ce qui se passe par rapport des activités normales de vie quotidienne comme des business, des écoles et tout ça?
Bon, pour le moment, ça va. Toutes ces activités-là continuent quand même de se dérouler. Mais tout le monde a peur, tout le monde se demande ce qui va se passer.
And you heard the Senegalese journalist giving us updates of what's happening in his country in French. He said that the situation is still tensed with sporadic protests in certain communities. Internet has been cut and residents fear what could happen in the coming days. He also talked about military, police and other security agencies on the streets to ensure there is law and order. When asked about normal activities and how they're going, he said everything is going well, including school and businesses. And that's how we'll end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories. Inspector General of Police expected at Bepong as conduct of his men again comes under scrutiny in actions which resulted in the death of one and others injured. We also brought you that story about IMF urging Ghanaian authorities to stick to recovery program going forward, days after the government gave indication of doing away with a 15% VAT on electricity. Parliament resumed today. We brought you an update from the House. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to srinews.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba. A freezer. Adama, a quick sementia. Adama. Metimosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do fresh the Nobium Unum and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for you have someone who said, yet the Druba Cope, a ship will be a high technology. I go for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what's ya no fugum. What the boss here, if we be any of us, you, equity self, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among Ammoniaji. To me, me what's it car? To me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on who you. I say, Kayona Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily. Coming up, International Monetary Fund urges Ghana to stay the course with austerity measures amid ongoing bailout program. Ahead, we'll hear from Director of the African Department, Abebe Selassie.
I think a really important initiative in this regard that we have taken as an institution is this Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable.
Also, building contractors lament stalled government projects crippling construction sector as well as cement manufacturing firms.
Cement and its associated products, iron rods, and then what have you. As long as construction has moved from site, manufacturing sector will definitely suffer.
Plus, liquefied petroleum gas marketers make case for resumption of fuel importation by bulk oil distribution companies, insisting government's goal for oil program not yielding desired results.
But we believe that when the responsibility of importing LPG into the system is given to one BDC, it will give that BDC enormous bargaining power.
My name is Minu Afo. We have details of these and more lined up for you. Stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. In our first story, the International Monetary Fund's Director of the African Department, Beatrice Adu, is pressing on governments the need to adhere strictly to the agreed-upon austerity measures under the fund program to navigate its way out of the economic crisis. According to him, these measures are vital for Ghana's economic prosperity. Beatrice Adu was speaking about Ghana's program in Washington, D.C.
Speed at which debt has been reprofiled under the common framework, slower than as it is, has been quite good. And I think from one case to the other, we've seen an acceleration in terms of the effectiveness of the common framework. I think a really important initiative in this regard that we have taken as an institution is this Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable, which has been a forum where many of the intricate issues that have been coming up in individual country cases can be discussed. Issues include comparability of treatment. And, I think how we can make progress is that making sure that more cross-cutting issues like comparability of treatment do not become a blockage to individual countries' reprofiling cases. So we're hopeful that the GSDR can make progress in some of the issues that have been raised.
That was IMF Director of the African Department, Beatrice Adu. Away from that, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has lamented the government's lack of commitment to resuming stalled infrastructure projects across the country. The government, as part of its efforts towards a domestic debt exchange program, suspended work on these projects to renegotiate the terms in order to meet the IMF's conditionalities. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, says the situation has crippled the construction sector and other dependent sectors, particularly cement manufacturing firms.
Most of the major construction works, like the Abosokan roundabout or the flyover, it has been put on hold. Nungwa road expansion or the redevelopment has also been put on hold. You go to Takrady, the construction works in there has been put on hold. You go to Kumasi, the construction works there has been put on hold. You go to Domi Kwabenya, Kitase Road, it also has been put on hold. Most of the major roads has all been put on hold as a result of what? IMF directives. So if contractors have moved from sites and then they are no longer working, that tells you that they may not go into the market to purchase cement and its associated products, iron rods, and then what have you. All these things have stalled. So that tells you that as long as construction have moved from site, manufacturing sector will definitely suffer.
Emmanuel Cherry is Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Construction Industry. Away from that also, liquefied petroleum marketers are calling on government to reconsider its goal for oil program to allow bulk oil distribution companies to resume importation of fuel and LPG. According to Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, the program being implemented by government is not yielding the desired results. Speaking to 3 Business, he says the policy has not contributed to price reductions at the local pumps.
Currently, what is happening is that every BDC imports LPG, and the highest any BDC can import into the system is about 5,000, 4,000 metric tons. Some import as low as 1,000 metric tons, which is not giving them that purchasing power to be able to bargain for lower prices. But we believe that when the responsibility of importing LPG into the system is given to one BDC, it will give that BDC enormous bargaining power. In that case, they will be able to import maybe 20 or 30 or even 40,000 metric tons, which will enable them enjoy some economies of scale, which will also enable them have some strong bargaining power to purchase the product at lower cost, so that cost can be translated onto the LPG marketing companies. So we will further translate that into lower prices at the pump.
Gabriel Kumi is Vice President of LPG Marketers Association. Now, before we go, our headlines were International Monetary Fund urges Ghana to stay the course with austerity measures amid ongoing bailout program. Also, building contractors lamented stalled government projects crippling construction sector as well as cement manufacturing firms. Plus, liquefied petroleum gas marketers made case for resumption of fuel importation by bulk oil distribution companies, insisting government's Gold for Oil program is not yielding desired results. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Menu Afo. Do stay tuned. Black Rasta will be here for Urban Blend.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM. Accra gets busy on this frequency.